We are an extension of the Community Action Board, which I serve on.
Okay.
And more particularly, we're just about engaging locally, engaging the community locally. We also get the seed money every year from the county via CSBG. Well, we had a meeting last night, and the budget came down early. And as I was going, thanks to Andrea, she's the one that did the percentage. Before this individual in here in meetings before, we talked about doing a discovery quest, which was a vendor event we did several years ago, and it included mainly just a vendor expo with social services, churches, you name it, agencies that come all together in one space and provide a resource to the community so they can go from table to table. They did it at Fairgrounds. Last meeting we had done at the Medard Park outdoor. We still on course for that? All right, so we have a budget of $6,000. There's some aerial photos of Medard. For those who may not know what Medard is, okay, off of Turkey Creek Road. It's been years since I was a kid figuring out there at the MetaS. Nice park, nice facility. And at this point in time, we need to solidify the grades. And we said tentatively spring 2025. But actually, when we get that point, I'm going to lock in the dates over there and post that.
No, I would say we should go ahead and lock in the dates. The sooner the better.
Yes. All right. We're talking, folks. You let me know what that's planned. Keep in mind, spring break, school calendar already came out. Right. Okay. Yes, it did.
Here's one thing
Talk to me, sir.
you may want to consider. Would it be better to have it the week of spring break or not the week of spring break?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't know. I'm trying to disconnect it from spring
Right,
break. But if we think it's a good idea, go for
Like
it.
if you're thinking like a Saturday?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, well, for most people with kids, normally they're out of town. So I guess it depends on the demographics of who's looking for kids. I go out of town every year. My kids are talking about, they kind of interfere when they have to do that. Spring break is the 17th and 21st of March. So I guess I could get into the target audience is in order to get for those.
Week of March 17th.
Yeah, the whole, the third week of, 17th to the 21st of March. So that's the third week of March is spring break for Hillsborough County.
Okay, so that would.
I have Monday, March 16th, and all that's non-student break through March 20th.
That would rule out the 15th and the 22nd.
Okay.
Those would both be part of that.
All right, okay.
Now, on the 8th is, I believe, the festival is still running through the 8th. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The Easter weekend is not something sometimes Easter falls. Okay.
So, in March, that really only gives us the 29th because the other two are taken up by the festival and the other two are spring break.
Great, okay. Well, if we want to do the 29th, let's go for the 29th. What's your thoughts? Everyone else in the room?
I'm trying to get over there. It's in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's next year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, March 29th. Okay, let's lock it in.
Okay, March 29th. Okay. All right, so now comes the part, the fun part. Okay, who's going to do what? Tentatively. Who's going to do what? So, Discovery Quest, again, I was more on the sidelines with that event. Helped out, not much. So I'm going to rely on Patrick, who kind of led a lot of that stuff there, to give me some advice on how do we go about vendors. Obviously, we got to invite, we got to advertise, notification. Any experience you want to share? Because I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Well, I can do what I did before, which is reach out to our community partners as far as recruiting now. One thing, do we want to stick with free as far as their participation?
Okay, I can go
You
all the
say
way.
free to the participants or the vendors?
The vendors. The vendors. Participants, vendors, I'm basically referring to the same people. Because we want as many to show up as possible. I mean, this isn't really a fundraiser for us.
Do you normally require the vendors to maybe like have little trinkets and?
What we
prepare-
required in the past, I was going to that next, is that they do bring something as a raffle,
Okay,
as a giveaway.
okay.
That way, throughout the day, we do raffles for people. Give away gift baskets, whatever they bring. I think that, would probably be the only requirement.
I got one question. Is $6,000 enough to cover the expense of holding?
No,
I'll call it seed money.
Yeah.
So,
that'll get it started
So,
out.
I
Have
mean-
previous projections of what was, I know it's ridiculous now for its pricing and stuff, like food or whatever, so I know it's probably double, but like in the past, was it 15K or normal?
Oh, no. We did it on a very minimal
Shoestring.
budget in the past. So the 2 years that we did it prior were 2018 and 2019. So we haven't had it in a while. We had it planned for 2020, and we all know what happened then. But we had a very minimal budget. I would say we probably spent no more than 40 at the most.
But that was more so on food or like what?
No, it wasn't food. It was because we had food trucks in the past,
Okay.
so we solved that problem. But it actually creates a problem because the demographics that we're really targeting, we don't want those people to go away hungry. So we had discussed about getting a social or civic club involved, like the Rotary Club, to do a cookout for us that day and give away free lunch.
So, it being historically, this group has been set up where we don't always necessarily directly receive funds. However, we leverage our partnerships for those to donate resources. Right? So, for example, we get the Rotary Club to provide free hot dogs for 1,000 people. There are organizations that have the capacity to do that willingly. So, getting ahead to reach out to them now. Advertising wise in the city, we usually get support. We can lean on in-kind through the county because it is under a county umbrella. We do the event to lean on in that effort. So yes, food, advertising obviously are things you look at, food, advertising, vendors, security wouldn't be a problem with the relationship with the county sheriff's office. Reached out to Colonel Collins in pretense for that. Logistically, with it being a county-led, we can look at the county as far as yard park, like the tents, cover in the spring, other resources, whether it be potable water, think of things like that. You have agencies, the water department that has a water trailer that gives out free water bottles, things of that sort, and their capacity, I believe, is just over 500. They're able to handle. So those are just things off the top of my head logistically that I'm thinking about that can be in-kind and leverage. We can allow ourselves to leverage the 6,000 for what we need to really pay for. So to your point, food, get it in and pick food. Cost of vendors, none, but they have to bring in a raffle. There's a way to work around that. Logistics of doing the outdoor at a park, I can kind of off the top of my head identify a few areas that we can take care of, but I definitely don't know all of it. So lean on the room to determine, what is it logistically I'm missing and what resources we need to conduct an event like that outside.
I guess my concern is, I don't know how financially, because I'm a part of the Ybor Rotary, how financially stable the Rotary is out here. If they can provide the food, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, to kind of say the first 200 people that arrive that they prepare for, or do you?
We are an extension. So talk to me. Yeah, that could be a middle of the day type deal.
Because it's gonna start at what, 10, or 1 to 2, or 1 to 5, or what are the hours?
If I recall, I didn't write that down. I thought it was like a 10. We're gonna do more than 4 hours. 10 to 2 or 10 to 1.
Maybe a 10 to 1,
10 to 1.
something like that. Because with the, even though it's a different time of year with the Backpack Hero event that we sponsor at Bayline Church, we run that from roughly about 10. You just see a huge taper off after like that for any event that you
Everything,
really
yeah.
do, especially because it gets hotter, people, and, you know, it's not like we're going to have stuff there that's gonna keep people hanging around all day.
So do you like normally serve like maybe the food during middle of the road, like 11 and 12:30 or
I
something?
would,
Versus the whole entire 4 hours?
yeah, because I think some of that time, you know, they'd be cooking for a little bit of that time.
Right.
But you want them to hang around long enough to make it through
All the vendors.
Well, that's, you do a passport thing,
We could,
where they go to each vendor
yeah.
and get it stamped.
And the Rotary Club did, that was the Optimus Club, Easter event in the city. I believe there were 325, and they came out, set up, cooked hot dogs, even bought some pizza, and they were in and out, like I said, like 2.5 hours. They came over early, set up, grilled, packed them up, handed them out, and was gone. So between the Rotary Club and I saw Taylor Clark here at Fred's this morning. So they had their little roundhouse meeting this morning. So Bobby Henry was giving a heads up. So I think the Texas Cowboys Club too, off 39. They're big on meat and beef, so I think we jumped into the fray.
Well, now you're giving a whole lot between the hot dogs from 1 to
Whatever else.
1 to 29. I mean, on the 29th, can't you just split it up and say to give them a number so you can kind of split it up? Oh,
Burden, less than a burden.
they get one or the other, not both, and then it's gone by 11.
Absolutely. We can keep it simple. We can just add some hamburgers and hot dogs and call it a day.
I would kind of, yeah,
Yeah, that's
just
it.
to see how it goes, and then maybe next year branch out, you know.
I think hamburger and hot dogs are a great idea. Keep it simple, and add some chips or something, and a drink. And,
Right.
And I think between the Rotary and Lord willing, Texas Cattle Company, yeah.
Okay.
Put sprinkle a few others in. I think we could get the food for free for the clientele we're looking to receive. Right?
Now, could you just reiterate the clientele that we're looking to offer, so we have an idea of which vendors we're looking to bring in?
So, you wanna,
Yeah, I mean, so our clientele basically is the same clientele that we serve as far as members of the Community Action Board, which is the low-income population of Hillsborough County. Now, can be kind of hard to define sometimes.
We're like the Dollar Tree. We go from $1 to $1.25. And then they slipped in. Then they slipped in the $3. I'm not kidding. It's
That's like a
$3
nice
now
analogy.
and $5 in the Dollar Tree.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, everything there's $1.25 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they done switched up on that.
But it can be anyone that's from our homeless population to our Alice population, which is asset limited, income constrained, yet working. Those are the people that, in my opinion, are the ones that need the most help, because they're the ones that are really struggling,
Yeah.
and but yet they're trying to make a difference.
Now, how do you normally reach out to those individuals? Are you part of like Metropolitan Ministries, or like what do you do to kind of bring that particular?
That's the issue that we've had in the past, is getting the people that, no, we only want those people there.
Right, of course.
We want it to be a community event, we want everybody to be there, so if you know somebody that's in need, you can go there, you can find out the resources, and where you can refer that person to me too. I had a person on Tuesday show up at my nonprofit meeting. And when he introduced himself, he said, "I'm here on behalf of myself." He didn't say an organization. So afterwards, I'm like, "Can you expand a little bit on you're here on behalf of yourself?" Well, he goes, "I work in retail, and I encounter people all the time that need different services. So I wanted to come here, and I wanted to find out,
The services.
you know." And so I said, where do you work retail? He works at ABC Liquors.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they're all coming to you for their problems.
Maybe they can donate some miniatures.
So it was nice, but, and then, so that's who we're targeting.
Okay.
But then as far as our vendors, yes, they're going to be everybody from my organization, Bikes for Christ, to Metropolitan Ministries, to St. Vincent de Paul, Catholic Charities, to ECHO, which is based out of Brandon, which provides emergency services for people in need.
Car breaks down,
Right.
roof needs fixing.
And one of the reasons I was asking is I come from the financial services background, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, they're willing to show up, contribute these different organizations. They just want to understand which population is going
Right,
to be.
like if it's like a financial literacy.
Right,
type of
if we're not, that for insurance agents, everybody, I don't care how much money you have, you should have $20 worth of insurance, right? And I can bring that, and they're always willing to offer donations or pay for that and get a book, but I just need to be able to say, okay, hey,
It could be a sponsor if they like it.
sponsors or whatever, whichever way they want to, so I can start making those phone calls.
Wow.
Okay.
We've done 2 so far, and the last one is in November. Something similar to that, down in Bartow. And we even had, that NACO come in and do 2-hour sessions, but it was an indoor type of thing. And they had people there, it didn't start till 10, they got there at 7
PM?
a.m.
Oh, AM.
Because it didn't start till 10.
Okay.
10 to 1 is the hours that we did it. But inside, we had those that were recruiting, those who have, like Publix, if you are an offender, they were there. If the sheriff department was there, social service was there, people with limited sight, visibility was there.
And
So
how did you guys get the word out for that?
phone calls and follow-up. We started like about 6 months in advance, calling and getting it on people's schedule before other people started with their events, because there's a lot of events that pretty much are going to be going on around the same time. So while the schools are still in session, like the social workers at the schools, because they know the families that are in need of help, and those are the ones we need to try to reach out to. And if we can get to, they just moved out here on the causeway to come and set up a vegetable stand.
Oh, the food.
Right, where people can actually come and pick their own fresh vegetables and what have you. I think that would be sufficient. If we bring Metropolitan, Feeding Tampa Bay in, the only concern I have with that is when they bring like the meats and stuff like that, it kind of causes more of a chaos than anything. But if we probably do just the strictly vegetables and fruits, stuff that they can take. And people always like to come out if you say the kids can earn, like we did one, that wasn't us, but it was Unity in the Community. And the kids were able to get their volunteer hours. So it's got to be a catch to get that mixture of people in there. But it went over quite well, I think, because you got the kids involved, and not that they really did anything, but they earned those hours that, they needed. So something like that along those hours. And then with your vendors, you don't want to be like you see some when they come in, it's a community event, the prices are jacked up.
Yeah.
Because that's not the audience. Although people have money, you can't go by their looks or how they're going to pick up stuff. But we got to just kind of remind them this is a community event, and we're not trying to go to the bank with it. So those are just some of the things. But especially the nonprofits, those are the ones that you really need to get out there that recognizes the community, and people feel comfortable talking to them about their situation.
I do have one more question, just piggyback on what you're saying right now. I know you'll see here that you have the scope set for 100 vendors, right? I don't know if that's space or just a number, but do you have priority vendors? Like, okay, I need to make sure we have these 20 places before we start saying that Aaron's nonprofit can come in and set up a table.
If we're going for 100, I think that's a whole lot.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a bit.
we had 100 at Plant City High, didn't we?
No, I think we have more in the range of probably 50 to between 50 and 60.
I have a parliamentary and point of order question before all my phones die. I don't even know if it'll get online, but we'll try. My suggestions about how to divert funding from the federal government here, is this a good appropriate time for me to offer my brief? But necessary suggestions?
Not, if I may interrupt you, not at this time, simply because we're on a time schedule.
Okay, I just wanna make sure and get it in.
maybe we can, yeah, we can invite you back and you can
I-
discuss a
I-
little bit more about that.
I just want to be able to just briefly
Yeah.
say the comment either now or 5 minutes, but tomorrow or next week might be too late.
Okay.
So just, okay, the bottom line is that the funding that's going to student loan originations to make student loans is something that didn't happen in our grandparents' time. No other country does it, and they don't do it for fifth graders. No fifth grader has student loan. And if you guys want funding, what I would ask respectfully, everyone in the audience that has my business card, to call up Congresswoman Laurel Lee and say, your Republican Party platform clearly says that you should not originate student loans with a tax dollar. Now, she won't do it because even when Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office, they didn't. So this is the only thing short of a miracle from Jesus himself that'll get her to do this and get you the funding you need. Say, the Democrat platform, even though you're not a Democrat, the Democrat platform says student loans should get bankruptcy back, and if you obey the Democrat platform and represent the other half of your constituents, it'll force the Department of Ed to be reluctant, and they'll stop lending to students that can't pay back. Now, the taxpayers have been repaid, but it won't continue. The taxpayers are gonna be hurt, which bothers conservatives, like I might be, and students will get hurt, and social services will get hurt, which should alarm everyone, especially the liberals. And the restoration of student loan bankruptcy legislation is the only thing short of a miracle from Jesus himself that will force the Department of Ed to back off and make the political environment possible for Laurel Lee to cut the student loan originations and obey her Republican platform, my Republican platform. And so that's all I got to say about that, but if you don't do it, we're going to crash the dollar and you won't get your funding. It's your move.
Duly noted. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I've listened to that. All right, so we're going to keep this thing moving. Let's get back into this discovery quest. So where we left off, we're talking about clientele. We're talking about vendors, what we've done in the past. So as I was picking up where I left off, Patrick, I recall vendors, like I said, like 4 modular areas. You had nonprofits. I do remember at the conclusion of that day, I had everything from toothbrushes to toothpaste that I was giving out to people in the community, because a lot of your vendors had stuff they can donate and give. So
Now, do you have like a legacy list of, like, maybe you can kind of reach back out to those individuals from 2019 that we can kind of start there?
Not only that, but my nonprofit works with over 100 organizations here in the
Okay.
Tampa Bay area. So I got the contacts.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So we have somewhere to start.
Okay.
All right. So let's make sure we close this thing out, and then we can go to the order and talk about other stuff. So we've got a discovery quest. We're picking the 29th of March. Tentative time is 10 to 1, we'll say?
Yes.
So I can go ahead and get the ball rolling at 10 to 1 p.m., get resources in. Madara Park is still the location. I'll reach out to the county and hopefully have them here at the next meeting, most likely from Parks and Rec, to discuss logistics, okay? And I'm a logistics guy. I may not be strong in other areas, but I like logistics, so that's just the
And you
military.
probably can ask them to have plan of activity.
Yes, we can, all right? Any general information, we have an invite list we can build upon,
Right.
okay, invite list. We can kind of highlight it and go over the scope of, who, like you said, legacy list, or who we want to prioritize to be there, and then go over some expectations from that. And I think that's pretty much the gist of what we're trying to get done today, and I can get off and running. Any more questions regarding Discovery Quest? All right, let's talk about a next meeting date, and then we can open the floor up to other discussion.
Oh, can you add chance to that list?
Tense, yes. Let's talk about the next meeting date, and then we'll jump into other subject matters here. All right, so we've got, you guys tell me what you want to do. Do we want to do something in July, or we want to do something in August?
July is fine, because I think I'm out of here into
Yeah,
August.
I'm good either way, so
Okay.
I have no major vacations planned for July. So, some do though, respectfully, because it's right before school starts. Starts August the 11th, I think, right? Right. The 12th? 12.
Your security guard down there didn't even know what was going on or where it was or anything.
Okay, we'll clarify that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the 25th.
25th? Okay, July 25th. Okay. Same time? All right. Any other? We're good? All right, so we've got another 10 minutes. Sir, would you like to introduce yourself again? to the Vice
Okay, I'm Gordon Wayne Watts. My father ran the Bobby Watts Speech Off and Auto Parts at 415 South Collins. And I went to school with Pat Simmons, Bikes for Christ, yes. And we also know Tony Tulla that sells bicycles, although I haven't seen Tony in 50 years or so. My dad was friends with Big Daddy Don Garlix, the king of drag racing. Don is still alive, being born, believe it or not, he was born in 91. I know that there's questions about my very unusual, no one has ever heard anything like what I said before, but the student loan originations is the largest area of discretionary pork. I'll come out of the closet and admit that I'm a conservative, and I'm upset that the taxpayer funds are being wasted, but I'm a Christian first, and so is Pat, and the money that is going, trillions, millions of millions are going to the Department of Ed, and making colleges and lenders, money changers, I mean banks, rich, and the money is going away from the students who have repaid the taxpayers way more than they borrowed, but it's not going to keep up. So the taxpayers are hurt, which upsets conservatives like me. I've come out of the closet, but it should upset liberals because the money is going to the rich colleges and not coming back to the community for the needs here, and there's only two things under heaven, just to clarify what I'm suggesting I want you guys to consider to stop this hemorrhage and bleed out that would crash the dollar and deprive your local funding, which is needed. One, a miracle that's not going to happen. We don't deserve it. Secondly, is convincing Congresswoman Laurel Lee, Senator Marco Rubio, and Senator Rick Scott to obey the Republican platform, which says clearly on page 35, federal tax dollars shall not originate student loans to students. She's not doing this, and there's only one thing that can make this happen other than the miracle, which we both know is not going to happen. Reinstating bankruptcy self-defense, the economic Second Amendment. Credit card users are not an insane amount of money because they can assert bankruptcy self-defense. Everyone has got self-defense, credit card users. Gamblers even can do bankruptcy defense, but college students are naked and defenseless. And that's in the Democrat platform. And if we tell Laurel Lee and Rick Scott, but Laurel Lee's number is 202-225-5626. And I want everyone within the sound of my voice to call her up and tell her to support bankruptcy reinstatement, which is in the Democrat platform, represent the Democrats on that, make the students empowered, but it also protects the taxpayers, and it'll make the Department of Ed reluctant to lend to the student who can assert bankruptcy defense like a credit card user. You can do this, you can wish for the miracle, or you can crash the dollar, and if I've missed anything, if there's a fourth way, I'll hear it and answer questions, but I'm Gordon Wayne Watts, and I signed with my own name. I think that calling Congresswoman Laurel Lee 202-225-5626 and demanding bankruptcy being reinstated first, and then the spending cuts are politically possible. Because if the spending cuts were possible without the bankruptcy defense, we Republicans would have done it under W. Bush's first 2 years, under Trump's first 2 years. We didn't because both the Democrats and the Republicans are tax and spend rhinos like drunken sailors, and I must apologize to all the drunken sailors in our fine military. But the student loan bankruptcy legislation first, then the spending cuts, then it frees the funding up for the local services once they don't lend to students that will at some point not be able to repay. Is there any questions, or is it ready, people, to call up Congresswoman Lee, or do y'all think that I'm just crazy and we should give up?
No, if I can speak for Ryan, we'll get ready to close this out. So you're right. Obviously, I served in the United States Army as a medic, so yes, we're not all drunken sailors.
Go Army.
So I will not take that offensively, okay? Okay, I've treated a lot of non-military people that have drunken issues going on. All right, secondly, so the ask in this room is reaching out to Congresswoman Laurel Lee.
Yes.
Okay, so we know that down. We'll share that information with those we know. What I would advise you is to note that Laurel Lee meets once a month in this building.
No, her staff do. She doesn't. She's afraid to meet with me.
Okay, well, she's afraid to meet with you. I've met Congresswoman Laurel Lee in this building.
Can I say, listen,
let's acknowledge each other's facts first now.
Okay.
Because you can't dispute facts and then not accept it in return. So I'm saying to you, as we've heard you, but understand you can't dispute when I'm telling you
I believe you.
I've met Congresswoman
I
Laurel
have
Lee
hope.
here. Okay, all right. So let's make sure we do that fairly now.
Can I say one positive
Yes, sir.
thing?
Okay.
I'm a Christian first, and Laurel Lee has been legislatively bad for both Republicans and Democrats, but she hasn't done like Congressman Scott Franklin, that used to be our member of Congress before redistricting. He has criticized the college students for this mess that he created. He won't do it. She has not been rude to college students, but she's still a legislative dud. However, I'm a Christian, and I have faith, and even if I weren't a Christian, I would really have no other choice. But yes, I do hope to meet with her and ask her if she will make the spending cuts and first make the bankruptcy reinstatement at least something viable to force the lending back. This would not only make the Department of Ed back off, but more important, my friend, it would make the lobbyists back off and release a tight grip on her throat because she's got a silver spoon in her mouth. But there is hope for Laurel Lee, and I have faith. Does anyone disagree with my ask to call her and ask for the student loan bankruptcy reinstatement and then the spending cuts and then the diversion of funds?
I will speak for one that will conclude the meeting. I don't have a problem with the ask, but I'm not one, being a military person and freedom of speech, I'm not one to, though I may disagree with what's going on in certain areas politically, I still believe and we need to be able to sit down and have a conversation.
I believe, yes, sir.
So what I don't do is, and this is just me being a military-minded individual, is call people crazy, call people they don't know what they're talking about. I think it's very, very important for us, not only as members of the community, but as Christians as well, obviously, that we are careful with our tongue. When others are not, even when others are not. There's a number of scriptures I can promote on that. Okay. So I agree that public outreach to our congressional representatives is a good thing, okay? And it's up to the individual in this room. You cannot require them to give you a yes or no in this room. As a military guy, freedom of speech, I think that's something we cannot do. It's called intrusion. So I've heard you. I will personally think about the things you've said. I am politically involved. I have my views on education as well. I don't go around and I express them in certain rooms. This room, I think, is not the place to demand or entitle people to do that. But I can promise you this, I will reach out to Congresswoman Laurel Lee and ask. And of course, I'm one of those individuals who not only ask, but I'll read for myself. I'll look up the information. Hold on, because I gave you the floor to speak. All right, so be respectful. All right, so I've heard your information. I wrote it down. I will do my own research, verify, and come up with a perspective of how I'm going to approach Congresswoman Laurel Lee. But I will say again, I think it's good you came in. I think it's good to have a perspective about what's going on that's right, what's going on may be wrong. And again, I think I speak on behalf of all the individuals in this room. What we will do is we will take that word to heart. And I do. I don't disrespect what anyone says in a room or space. Right. And I think that I've listened to what you said. College loan information and bankruptcy is definitely something that piques my interest. And I'm always seeking to gain more knowledge in that area. So I will, and others can privately decide what they want to do. I will do my research on what you stated. And I promise you, I will reach out. To what degree I will reach out, that's up to me. That's not up to you. But I definitely will reach out to Congresswoman Laurel Lee, not against what you're saying, but definitely get my perspective on what's going to work and what's not going to work. But again, I appreciate what you do. All right, continue to do what you do.
Can I make a brief response?
Yes.
I'm very brief. First off, what you said about being respectful is the most important thing because we're Christians or people of whatever faith. And secondly, piggyback on that, we shouldn't compel anyone to do this because it's something that we should be like faith. We should just do it of our own accord. When I was younger, I thought the student loan bankruptcy was a literal free handout. But it took me a while. But that being the case is that if we directly funded college, it would save taxpayers and save students. Now, you don't have to agree with that, but it makes sense, and I want you all to consider the very last point I want to make, other than being Christians to everyone, whether they agree or disagree, and I hope to make Congresswoman Lee and her staff feel welcome, and they have always been polite to me, even though they haven't done legislative anything. They are trying. Is that what I'm saying is that we should know that it's a hard topic, but at the end of the day, we must push forward and get either my solution or her solution to find out what she wants. But if she doesn't like my solution, then politely suggest mine solution. And if not, store up a lot of food and water and solar backup because you know it's coming.
Yes.
As far as Stump would say, that's all I got to say with that. I'm Gordon Wayne Watts, and I approve this message.
Thank you so much, Mr. Watts. All right. So any other things for the good of the order? We're good? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Watts, for coming.
What's your name, Mr. Thomas?
Mr. Thomas. You got it. William Thomas Jr. Because there's a senior. Yeah, there's a senior walking around. and he outranks me.
Thanks for making my claims.
Okay.
Does anyone have my business
Yeah,
card?
yes, we do.
Business cards,
Thank
business
you,
cards.
Thank you. All right, thank you again. We're good. All hearts and minds are clear. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I tell you. Okay, folks.
These are the two
This is
cheapest
what I'm
phones in the entire world. I'm surprised that they even work.
What kind of phone is it?
This is the Pure Talk on the AT&T towers, and you know AT&T went down, and it wasn't solar flares this time. This is my welfare phone. I'm so poor that, you know, conservatives line up for this stuff, and that's how poor it is. And they're on the T-Mobile towers. If I had some money, I'd get a Verizon phone.
Appreciate you coming, man. All right, appreciate you, sir. And we'll follow up in the next meeting.
Nice to meet you. Likewise.
But yeah.
Never delete.
So I'll talk to the boys and girls.
Yeah, yeah.